Hello, friends. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you all doing today? All right. I'm going to wait for people to join me. And I have a really interesting topic. It's the beginning of the year. Like everybody else, um, we all have New Year resolutions. And so I want to talk about a resolution that somebody out there should be thinking about. Thank you for joining me. Please drop a comment. Tell me you're here. Thank you all for joining again. Hello, Ene Cooker. Hello, Easy Plus Fabrics. Hi, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I hope this year is a year that all of us get our heart's desire, whatever it is that you're looking for. I hope that this is a year that allows you to get to the space you want to be. For my immigration clients, my firm is dedicated as ever to making sure that we assist you guys. And I keep telling you guys, this is an election year. That changes. So immigration is a topic that you guys really need to actually sit down and think about what you need to do. And what I mean by that is, if you have a way of becoming a green card holder, or you need to file for citizenship, this is the year to do that, because a new president comes with new immigration rules. They have that right. So you want to be grandfathered into the existing into the existing law if it's beneficial to you. So whether or not you decide to go forward with your immigration case, you should at least think about whether it's something you want to do. So let me introduce myself for those who do not know me or who are joining for the first time. My name is Ifeoma Odunlami. I'm an immigration attorney from the Odunlami Law Firm. Our office is in Cedar Knolls, New Jersey, but we represent clients in all 50 states of the United States, and even abroad for clients who are looking to get into the United States and get some legal status. So like you guys can hear, I'm an immigrant. I'm a Nigerian, and actually went to Nigeria this Christmas, and it was really, really great. I went with my family, my husband, my American children. They've been there before, of course, and they truly identify with being Nigerian as well. But but they were going there this time as young adults, and that made a huge difference. Because now they can relate to some of the things, the way their parents are. They can see it. So that was really cool. And of course, Lagos was fun. Dirty December. So I'm an immigrant, and so is my mother, my siblings. We all went through the immigration system, as well as my friends. And everybody has a story. It's not easy, but what I want you guys to have is hope. And so this new year, 2024, I want to talk about people who have a pathway, but they are afraid to file. And I encounter potential clients like that. They come for consultation. I tell them, you could qualify for this, but they are afraid. And fear is it has such a crippling effect. When you're afraid and you don't take action, you're losing out on certain blessings that could come your way, right? And this is more evident in VAWA cases, violence against women cases, or even U visa cases who are victims of crimes, or T visa cases, victims of trafficking, uh, um, labor trafficking, or commercial sex trafficking. I think the one thing that ties a lot of abuse abuse victims is fear, right? They are afraid of the abuser. They are afraid of the system that they have been told is not going to be supportive of them. So I want to debunk a lot of those. Falsehoods, right? If you're a domestic violence if you're a victim of domestic violence and you do not feel safe, please call the police. Okay? So I'm going to tell you this story and another one about people that could have lost out of filing their cases and getting a green card because of fear, right? So there was this man, is a prior client. He came here to the United States on a visitor's visa, met a U.S. citizen, they got married. And soon after, the relationship became very abusive. And one thing you also need to know about men is they don't like to admit to being abused. They don't like to tell their friends. You know, women will talk, we will share, but men don't like to share. So he didn't want to tell anybody what he was going through. And it was physical abuse, even though, as you know, domestic abuse does not have to be physical, right? So this is what happened. There's a lot of physical abuse, but he was always afraid to tell anybody. He was afraid to go to the police because he thought that because he had no legal status, which is what the abuser told him, that he will be deported. So this incident happened when he came home one day and she was asking questions. And of course, because her anger made him feel unsafe, he decided not to say a word, right? So he decided to kind of just stay away from her, hoping that would calm her down. But then she got upset because she felt like she was talking to him and he was ignoring her. So she took, I think it was a bottle or something, and hit him on the head. And then he was bleeding, he was injured. And then so he pushed her because, out of fear, like, what else are you going to do to me? And she called the police. She called the police because she felt confident in the fact that she was a U.S. citizen and that she could make a claim of violence because he pushed her. But unfortunately for him, when the police came, they looked at a man with a bleeding head and a woman that looked okay. And apparently my client was actually even trying to get away, like run away from the house when the police was coming, but they got there before he could. And so that was what saved him, because when the police came, they took a police report, arrested her, right? Because they got the story and they could see, even though she tried to lie, right, and say that she was trying to, she used the bottle to defend herself. But the police was able to sort through, and there was a report. Now, if she hadn't called the police, he would have continued to suffer the abuse because he felt that the police would not be supportive of him because he had no legal status. So I want anybody today who is going through domestic violence, the last thing you should be worrying about is whether the police is going to take your side if you are in a situation where you are scared for your life, or in a situation where you don't feel safe. You can call the police. Your legal status is not going to be the main issue, right? And if you're worried, maybe you don't want to call the police because, as you know, you do not need to have a police report to file a domestic abuse case for VAWA. You can call an immigration lawyer and talk about what you've been through, okay? Because you can still win a VAWA case with or without a police report. And then I've had other people who have been abused, because abuse does not have to be physical. It could be emotional. We had a client who was living with her in-laws and her husband was allowing his family to be abusive. They would yell at her. They would lock her outside the house so that she couldn't get in. They didn't like the fact that he was filing papers for her, right? And they had immigration issues that didn't allow them to change their status. So they felt that, I guess there was some kind of jealousy or something. Sometimes even without jealousy, it happens. People are just sometimes mean to people, that they think that they can get away with it. And the husband was watching this and encouraging it. When his family was yelling, would yell at her, he would join them. They would demoralize her. They would, they basically were turning her into their slave. She was the one cooking. She was the one cleaning. When she would make money, and they would take the money from her. Now, she could also qualify for something called a T visa for trafficking, or VAWA. So it doesn't have to be physical, and sometimes it may not. It may just be your spouse putting you in a position and allowing you to be abused, not stepping in to protect you. you know um so this year, 2024, right, figure out what is it you're afraid of, right, and face that fear, because you don't want fear to be the reason why you can get your legal status. I had a consultation with a woman who had a fantastic VAWA case, but she was afraid that her her in-laws would she would get in trouble, that with her in-laws, because she was filing a VAWA case. Even her own family, her own mother told her, just let it be, just don't do anything. And that's not good advice, because that's an advice a lot of parents give their children, because they're trying to keep the peace, right? But if you're being abused, you have a right to find a way to get legal status, so that you can get empowered to move on, empowered to get a job, empowered to move on with your life, because there's nothing that keeps you stuck in the cycle of domestic abuse as much as not having any economic power, or not being able to begin to get healing for the abuse you've suffered. So after having said that, right, I'm going to talk about the people that can file VAWA, because I want to talk about VAWA today. There's also T visa, there's also U visa. There are many ways, and I'm going to let me talk about them really briefly. Of course, VAWA requires you to be abused by an immediate relative, a U.S. citizen, spouse, or green card holder spouse, a U.S. citizen or green card holder parent, or a U.S. citizen or child who's over the age of 21. So, but in other instances like a T visa or a U visa, right, your abuser doesn't have to be a U.S. citizen or green card holder. So that's really great. And another thing you need to know, for those who are afraid of filing, VAWA is confidential. The laws insist that USCIS must keep your VAWA filing confidential. We actually have people who are still living with their abusers, right? And so to make sure that there's a confidentiality that will protect them, we use our office as a safe mailing address, which means that they don't get any mail going to their house from USCIS. So the mail comes to us, we upload it in a secure portal that only they have a password to, or they have an option also to use a friend that they trust, right? But when people are afraid to file a VAWA or T visa or U visa, I encourage you to face that fear, because that could be your path to freedom. Really, I can't tell you, the people who when they get their green cards or even their work permit, it's just the freedom you feel knowing that you don't need somebody to file your paper for you, knowing you don't have to rely on them. You don't need them to show up at the interview. You don't need them to threaten that if you don't do this, they're not going to do that, or for them to hide documents which prevent you from proving your case, right? When you file VAWA, it's a self-petition. You are in control of your filing, right? So let's talk about people who, who qualify, who are eligible to file VAWA, right? You have the parent. Let's start with a spouse, right? If your spouse is a U.S. citizen or green card holder, you can file VAWA if you suffered abuse in that relationship, right? If your child has been abused by their U.S. citizen parent or green card holder parent, and the child is under the age of 21, unmarried, you can also file as their parent, even though you were not abused, but you witnessed your child being abused. And, so by extension, you suffered. some kind of abuse, seeing that your child was being abused. Okay. Now, if you are the parent of a U.S. citizen and your U.S. citizen son or daughter is 21 and above, right? You can also file VAWA if you are being, abused. It could be physical abuse, it could be emotional abuse, financial abuse, verbal abuse. Sometimes it could be one really bad abuse incident, or a combination of little things, gaslighting, yelling at them, putting them in unsafe uh, um, situations, embarrassing them in front of people, in social media, stuff like that. It could be that, right? Now, a child can also file a VAWA petition on their own, right? The child has to be under the age of 21 to file the VAWA petition. However, there's an exception for people who were not able to file the VAWA petition as a result of the abuse, and the law allows them to file before they're 25, right? What else? Now, what to be able to file, right? Remember that there's strict deadlines in some of these filings. There's the age deadline. If you're filing against a step parent, make sure that your parent and the step parent got married before you were 18. Okay. And what else? There's also, as a child, everybody has to prove they're persons of good moral character. That's a requirement, but for a child under the age of 14, it's assumed that you're a person of good moral character, right? So the things you need to prove generally in a VAWA case, if you're in a marital situation, you need to prove that it's a bona fide marriage, that you married this person because you wanted to be with them and not just for immigration benefits. You also want to show that you did reside with that person at some point, right? You want to show abuse. You want to show your personal good moral character, and I think there's another one which I forget now, but I think, well, you have to show abuse. You have to show as a bona fide marriage. You have to show you live together. You have to show that your personal good moral character. All right. And the same for parents, and children. You have to prove the relationship, right? You have to prove that the person is related to you in the manner that you claim they are, whether it's your child or your parent, right? You also have to show that you have lived with them at some point. You also have to show that abuse occurred, and you also have to show good moral character, right? And when you put your petition together, right, I encourage people to do a one-step filing if you qualify to adjust status, because some people are not able to adjust status, so they may only file an I-360, right? But you should file the right forms, put in the right amount. You should make sure that you have your declaration. You must tell your story, right? Because that you don't get an interview for VAWA. So your one chance, your one shot at convincing USCIS that you suffered abuse is your declaration. You have to tell them what happened, right? And if in certain instances a psychological evaluation is, is recommended, or if you've seen a therapist or you're seeing a therapist, they may be able to write something showing that you were getting therapy because of the abuse that you suffered, right? So what else? There are deadlines, yes. So if you are divorced from your spouse, there's no requirement that you have to be married to file VAWA, but if you're divorced, you must file your VAWA application within 2 years, right? If your spouse is deceased, you must file the application within 2 years. So those are the deadlines that you need to be aware of. So hello, Kuswan, good morning. So I'm going to answer a couple questions because I have a consult at 10:30, and then I will, come. You'll see me next time. But I'm going to encourage you to, go ahead and like, share, and follow, because I don't come at the same time all the time. So if you follow and you like, follow and share, you get to know when I come in, and you're able to follow follow along with my consultation. I can answer some questions, and if you don't meet my consultation, at least you can watch the video at when you have some time. So let me answer a couple of questions. So Bohala says, hello, I have someone that came in with F1 visa, but he was unable to continue his education due to death of his sponsor. What chance does he have to get work permit and social security number? So Holler, you're asking a question that requires a consultation, because if somebody comes in on an F1 visa, right, there are ways that he could get legal status, because it's not just a work permit and social security. You're looking at how he can get legal status. As an F1 person, I know that there's, if he has undue hardship, he may be able to work outside the 20 hours that he's required to, but I'm assuming that your question is asking for a little more than that. So I think he should talk to an attorney, because he might qualify for certain pathways. And I'm going to tell you a quick story. I had an attorney, a colleague of mine, who called me one time and said her niece had was on an F1 visa, and could she file for her niece? Well, I told her, well, you can't file for your niece. You're not a qualifying relative for, to file a petition for a niece. But I'm more interested in why you want to file a petition for your niece. Where are the parents? And so she said the mother died and she never knew her father. And I said, well, how old is your niece? She said 20, I think she was 20. I said, well, guess what? She could qualify for special immigrant juvenile status. And so we filed special immigrant juvenile status for her, and she got her green card in less than a year. And that came from asking the right questions. We were able to find another pathway for her. So Hagbo Hala Jr., it might be a good idea for this person that you know to talk to a lawyer and see if they qualify for something. You never know what they may qualify for that could give them legal status. All right? I hope that answered your question. So Endowed says, hello, a person in immigration court has an approved I-130. Please, what's the next step? So Endowed, Val, congratulations on the approved I-130. So if a person is in immigration court, there are different things that they could do. I would start off with requesting, contacting the ICE attorney to see if we can get the case dismissed through prosecutorial discretion. That would be a way to get it done without even having to involve the courts, the judge. So a PD is definitely something that this person should try and do. And they should definitely get a consultation. We're happy to assist, 973-993-1900. We just want to make sure that they don't have any problems that would stop them from getting a green card, because just because you have an approved I-130 does not mean that you're guaranteed the next step. He might have inadmissibilities. The person might have inadmissibilities that may prevent them from getting legal status. So that's something that they definitely need to talk to an attorney about. And so let's go. So TMT Beauty says, you're talking to me, Ma. I don't want to waste money due to my past experience. TMT, I don't know what your past experience is, but honestly, that's life. Sometimes situations don't work out well, but you have to keep trying. So if there's a way for you to get a green card, you owe it to yourself to just keep trying, keep striving. And the money you wasted, people waste money and then, something works out. So it's not really a waste. It's just that you really have to be more, really scrutinize where you're putting your money in to make sure at least that you're investing it in the right place. Okay. All right. So let's go. Let's see. Let's see if we have something else. 1024. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Abayami says, can I register for consultation after the live post? Abayami, yes, you can call 973-993-1900 and get scheduled. Or you can go to my website, www.odunlamilaw.com, and self-schedule. But if you want a faster consultation date, it might be best to call, because sometimes we're able to squeeze people into it when we have a cancellation or something, okay? So Kingsley 7 says, how long does LPR spouse VAWA take? It depends on the priority date. So for LPR spouse, it depends on when you filed. It depends on when your priority date is, because that's when you can file for adjustment of status. All right. So ODZ 740 says, can a person file for N400 under the 3-year rule if they have an I-751 pending and they don't live in the same state with their spouse because of school and employment? So ODZ, that's a really great question. And I'm going to tell you that, yes, you can. You know, there's nothing that says if you're still with your spouse, still married, you're not living together because of school and employment, but you can show that your permanent home, this is how I would look at this case, if your permanent home is with your spouse, which means, you're traveling there all the time, during holidays, you're going back after school, and the only reason you're not living together is because of the fact that you're probably in college in another state, and your spouse, has an employment, it's your burden to prove that it's a bona fide marriage, because that's really what it's about, proving that it's a real marriage. And there are many ways to show it's a real marriage. Living together is a suggestion. Commingled finances, those are suggestions. They're strong suggestions, but we've had people who didn't live together, who we filed petitions for, and they got their green cards because we were able to show in other ways that it was a bona fide marriage. So you can do all of this stuff, but you have to come strong with your evidence, okay? Diara Niang says, do you think the VAWA cases will be faster this year? Diara, I wish I knew. I know that the naturalization cases are faster because they're trying to get people naturalized ASAP so that they can vote. I know that some case types, like, people filing for their parents, that's moving faster. But VAWA cases, really, it's up in the air. And, nobody knows. We hope so, for sure. But I don't know. Nobody knows. All right, this is 10:27. So, guys, I'm sorry I didn't get to the rest of the questions, but like I said, follow, subscribe to me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, so that when I come on, if you're able to meet me and join me on the live, I can answer your questions. Otherwise, please put your questions on the comment, and I will take note of them so that I can answer them at the next live, okay? Have a wonderful week, everyone, and pleasure chatting with you guys today. Take care.